Hello, hello. This is my artifact episode number 4168. Today's date is July 22, 2026. It's been almost like a morning at 8:44 a.m. I'm actually at the rooftop holding an umbrella, and the rain is non-stop. Like basically, it's this thing from last couple of days. The rain is continuously going on, and because of this thing I cannot able to be record video artifact, or either I cannot able to be kind of like go outside, okay, because non-stop rain actually happening. So yeah, and by the way, I like the rain. Like somehow na, it just like sometimes I like the rain, sometimes I little bit not like the rain, but most of the time I like the rain. And usually it kind of like felt really good. I don't know, it just felt like a wow. Yeah, but with a little bit of sunlight na, it would be even more better. Yeah, like having little bit sunlight, then it kind of like feels like, oh, then every color are kind of like a pop, like every color, like a basically green to yellow to blue, every color is kind of like a popping. It's kind of like a feel like that ki entire entire world got saturated by colors. Whatever, let's just jump to the question. All right, yeah, let's go. So where is question? Okay, so question is, what keeps user returning? Oh, that's a really good question. Okay, first of all, what exactly is this question and why am I asking this question to myself? I wanted to build a AI that could predict the future. Before I wanted to build such a AI that could predict the future, I wanted to aware of all the possible consequences. So I went to ChatGPT. I tell that I wanted to build such a AI that could predict the future. I wanted to kind of like simply aware of understand of all the possible consequences. So suggest me hundreds of questions. ChatGPT kind of like suggest me 100 questions. This is one of those questions. Now regarding about the question says that what makes user returning? Okay, like basically it says that what keeps user returning. What's the returning means what? Let's understand a couple of things. Take an example as a Instagram. Instagram is a kind of like a really good example. Now Instagram is a social media platform. People are kind of like a went to that platform where kind of like a simply people kind of like a see a lot of new stuff. Like basically what exactly happened that people kind of like put a lot of photos, videos regarding about what exactly happened in their life and things and that and that. And because of this thing, other people are kind of like really curious about this thing, so they just wanted to kind of like get like open the Instagram and things and that and that. So basically this thing, Instagram is the only platform in the world. It's kind of like most of the people are keep coming, like they just keep coming because they are not kind of like a went to the Instagram just because of Instagram. They are kind of like a went to the Instagram just because of they wanted to know what is actually happening in the surrounding and things and that and that. Same thing actually happened with the Facebook. Same thing happened with the kind of like a simply YouTube. Same thing happened with the kind of like a Twitter and things and that and that. These are kind of like a social media platform, and social media platform are meant for kind of like a keeping people should supposed to be returned, like a let the kind of like a people should supposed to be returned to their platform and kind of like use their platform again and again. Now why does they do that? Because of that the platform kind of like a gets so much revenue from it. Most of the kind of like a platform, Instagram, YouTube, or every kind of like a social media platform are kind of like a gain profit by how many users are kept in their platform. Like basically what is actually happened that Instagram is a kind of like a showing you other people feed. In return it also kind of like a show you advertisement. Okay, yeah. Now because of the advertisement, like you are kind of like accessing the feed for free, like no one kind of like asking you money, but in return kind of like Instagram kind of like showing you feed. Now you have a kind of like assembly the like basically you have kind of like assembly what I'm saying is that like you if you wanted to watch the advertise it, or if you don't want just skip it, but kind of like from the advertisement Instagram kind of like earn money from it. Okay, yeah. So more people in the platform, more advertisement that they would kind of like sell, and from that more advertisement they would gonna sell, the more money that those people will kind of like make. Okay, so this is what it is. This is what kind of like a something the like basically in the end they are kind of like a want to earn money, and because of every platform are kind of like a wanted to earn money more, and kind of like a keeping the user in their platform is kind of like a make them more earn money, right? So that is what kind of like a simply, that's why kind of like a most of the platform are want that they are kind of like some user kept coming to their platform again and again and again and again. And every platform is a kind of like a try to struggle that thing, every platform wants that thing. Now basically, now I have to be asked this question to myself. Let's take a my platform like Adam is a kind of like a AI that could predict the future. Now basically this thing does people will kind of like a went into my platform again and again. Well, basically my platform is not a kind of like a social media platform where people would kind of like a see other photos, other people photos and things and that. No, nothing will at all. It's a kind of like a something is this thing, imagine as a kind of like a chat GPT homepage. Okay, yeah. Why you open the chat GPT? Because of some sort of amount of reason, right? You will not gonna open chat GPT without even any kind of like some reason. Same goes with the Gemini, same goes with the kind of like a AI, so same goes with the every AI platform, because those platforms are meant to design for whatever you wanted to do, ask it over here and you will kind of like get the answer. Okay, yeah. Instagram is not, you kind of like open the Instagram for randomness, like you are not searching for something, you just kind of like you just get to know what is actually happen around me and that's it. But AI platform is not made for that. AI platform is a kind of like a made for something that whatever you wanted to do, just kind of like a search here and you will kind of like get the answer. So basically is this thing, because of the AI platform is not meant to be kind of like a holding that much attention to the users. So will I able to be earn money that much, like basically do I able to be kind of like a simply show the advertisement or what? Now let me understand a couple of things. Okay, why does kind of like a social media platform or other kind of like a social media platform, why does they wanted to keep user in their platform? Because in the end they wanted to earn money, right? Like they wanted to kind of like sell the advertisement, and from that advertisement they wanted to earn money, right? So this is the kind of like the ultimate goal for social media platform is that to earn money. Okay, yeah. So there are kind of like a multiple ways of earning money. What is at least this thing? First method is that is showing the advertisement to the user, and from that advertisement earning money. Okay, yeah. This is called kind of like a simply AVOD platform. Okay, yeah. Advertisement on demand. AVOD, yeah. Advertisement on demand. Because this is kind of like a platform. Now another platform is that the subscription based platform. Like basically instead of you are asking money to the advertisement, you are kind of like asking money directly to the user. Okay, yeah. Like a Netflix is kind of like somebody directly asks money to the user, and when you kind of like give them money, then Netflix kind of like open up the library and you can watch any kind of like a movies and kind of like a web series and whatever you wanted to watch and things and that is called subscription model. Okay, yeah. Now basically is this thing, is my platform is a AVOD platform or is my platform is a subscription based platform? Now basically is this thing, now AVOD and subscription based platform are mostly utilized for kind of like assembly such a platform where platform are kind of like a showing any visual form of content, like a YouTube or like kind of like a video or kind of like images or things and that. Okay, so in that particular thing AVOD or kind of like a subscription based platform that you could kind of like execute like a AVOD platform. But subscription based platform is a kind of like a simply platform where you are kind of like a providing value to the people instead of kind of like a providing kind of like entertainment value. You are providing kind of like a different kind of like a value, like a knowledge, information, or things and that. Okay, yeah. So that is called kind of like a subscription based value, and that's why kind of like a ChatGPT kind of like a asking money to the user, so that user kind of like a pay the money and user kind of like a use the ChatGPT model and things and that. Okay, yeah. And in that particular process, ChatGPT kind of like earn money and things and that, right? Now, what is exactly is this question? The question is actually about that, ki how you should supposed to be earn money, like indirectly, na, like directly. Like the question kind of like says that how you kind of like keep the user in your platform, but the direct question is that ki how you should supposed to be earn money. So like basically is this thing, why we need money? Let's ask the answer first. Let's ask the question first. Why do we need to why do we need money? Yeah. obviously like a like a basically if I am kind of like a running such a AI that kind of like a required so much running cost, it required kind of like a somebody the graphics power, computing power. I need kind of like a give the salary and things and that where that money came from. Obviously I would not kind of like a give everything for free, right? If I'm kind of like giving them free, then probably how do I supposed to be earn money? I definitely do not earn any kind of like a money, nothing really at all. So in that situation, right, so I need to earn money. So do you understand? So I need money. Okay. And obviously is this thing AVOD is not a kind of like a things that I would kind of like execute, because Adam is not a platform where kind of like a video will kind of like a make or kind of like other people video. No, it's not social media platform. So basically I need to earn money. Okay, yeah. And the money is kind of like a made by subscription model. Okay, yeah. This might be kind of like a much more better, right? Yeah, but Adam is not a kind of like a typical kind of like a AI chatbot. They're kind of like a showing the text and things like that and that. Adam is a kind of like AI that could predict the future. Literally, just like that, now Adam have kind of like a so much amount of power, and that could kind of like shape the world. And for that particular thing, Adam kind of like asking money to the other people that ki, I will kind of like change the world, but just give me money for almost like a $10. You can change the world and things and that and that. That is really stupid, right? So how does kind of like somebody Adam will kind of like earn money? How do I supposed to be earn money? Okay, yeah, because I need a money now. Like basically, I have to be run the Adam servers and kind of like a process and computing power and things and that. I need to kind of like give them people salary. So where that money came from? Okay, yeah. So basically, this thing you have to understand couple of things. Okay, yeah. It's not really that I will kind of like provide my services for free. Okay, but there is a couple of things that I understand. First of all is that my product is not massive product. I didn't really create this product for kind of like so many people. Definitely not. Okay, it's not another chat GPT, it's not another kind of like a Gemini that could kind of like a search about how is today's weather and things and that. No, that is not. Adam does not kind of like a build for that. Adam built for kind of like a very small community of the people, such a people who are kind of like somebody running a kind of like a something a organizational level. They are kind of like responsible for kind of like thousands of millions of people, and they are kind of like try to take a decision regarding about something that might gonna impact thousands of millions of people. So in that situation, whatever they are kind of like taking decision, they just wanted to make sure that decision is kind of like a right or wrong. And Adam is a kind of like a helping that decision that their decision is a kind of like a right and wrong or not. Okay, yeah. And that is what kind of like Adam providing value. Okay, Adam does not provide value to the every single individual person. Definitely not. Adam providing the value to the organizational level, to the community of the level. Okay, yeah. And basically this particular organizational community level of people who are kind of like only kind of like a couple of people, like a policy maker, lawmaker, kind of like a chairman, or kind of like a somebody, the people who are kind of like a somebody responsible for thousands of millions of people. Those people will utilize the Adam, not individual person. All right, that is a kind of like a things. That is a kind of like a somebody the Adam is actually made for. I didn't really build Adam because if I wanted to kind of like utilize, if I wanted to kind of like realize that I would kind of like make my Adam for kind of like a massive product, it's not really possible for me. At least like a economy is not kind of like a making me that. Okay, let me kind of like tell you. Adam is a kind of like a somebody is not a typical AI where you could kind of like put the prompt, get the answer. No, Adam run the simulation. Like basically is this thing, a single prompt take ChatGPT to kind of like a couple of seconds to execute. Adam really required hours or maybe more than hours to kind of like execute a prompt. Why? Because Adam run the simulation, not one simulation, thousands of simulations, consequences, scenario to kind of like give you the precise answer regarding about what will gonna happen. Okay, and from that particular point of perspective, the computing power required for Adam is too much. And for that particular purpose, I am not gonna able to kind of like do this thing for kind of like assembly. How do I supposed to make the kind of like strawberry cake and things and that? No, it's not. For that particular thing, kind of like assembly, we have kind of like a ChatGPT, we have Gemini, we have kind of like Anthropic, which is kind of like a much more better model. Like a Adam is a kind of like assembly prediction model, na? It predict the possible consequences. And for that thing, it really required a kind of like a some better kind of like a some prediction prompt that key regarding about how do I supposed to kind of like make sure the decision is kind of like a much more better. The credibility of Adam defined by which kind of like a particular person utilize. Is it kind of like a utilize right purposes? Then Adam kind of like a provide you much more better result. But Adam is a kind of like a somebody asking such a stupid thing. Then Adam kind of like a waste lot of computing power for kind of like a some stupid purposes, and in return I didn't really get any kind of like a something value. Let me tell you one thing. Okay, yeah. Let's just say kind of like a suddenly a particular person kind of like asked me to dig the hole. Okay, yeah, and he will kind of like give me 500 rupees. I kind of like a went and I kind of like a dig the hole, kind of like a two like a 10 feet of dig the hole, kind of like a the particular person kind of like give me 500 rupees, right? Now basically like this is what kind of like somebody Adam will kind of like somebody work. Now what is actually happened that some people kind of like give me, let's just say 100 rupees, and for that 100 like not just like a 2 rupees, okay, or maybe kind of like a 50 rupees, and in the 15 rupees would you kind of like a dig the 10 feet hole? No, I will not. But for that particular purpose, if I wanted to kind of like a simply construction a building, I need to dig the hole. I need to dig the hole for kind of like a simply 10 feet, even if I'm kind of like a getting kind of like a simply 2 rupees or kind of like a 500 rupees. So do you understand whatever the prompt it is, like if the prompt is kind of like a much more technical, much more kind of like a somebody difficult, computing power really required a lot. But if the prompt is kind of like so stupid, even if that stupid prompt really requires so much amount of computing power too. Okay, yeah. So amount of effort that I'm putting is too much for every single prompt, and for that thing I need a kind of like a somebody. How do I supposed to be kind of like a somebody like a like a like manage this thing? Okay, yeah. If the people are kind of like asking what is the actually weather today, I will not gonna charge like a basically like a $1,000 per month. Definitely not. Okay, so this is what it is. I need to understand the kind of like a somebody practicality of use of kind of like a somebody every people and things and that, and how does I kind of like earn money, as well as kind of like somebody is this thing that key make sure the kind of like AI also run. But one of the biggest thing that I realized that now ki if I wanted to kind of like earn money, sometimes it's not really depend on earning money. Sometimes it's kind of like a depend on how you supposed to be save the money, because that is a kind of like a most important thing. Because earning money and wasting money doesn't really make sense at all. But if you are kind of like a saving the money, which is kind of like a make really sense, okay, like a spend it wisely. And this is the kind of like a things that I wanted to execute. First of all is that Adam does not run on classical computer, because if I wanted to run Adam on classical computer, it really required a lot of computing power and things and that, and obviously the cost of really required for computing power is kind of like a so much that I cannot able to be afford for every possible person or every kind of like a somebody the targeted person. No, I can't. So that's why my Adam will kind of like a simply use a quantum computer, because quantum computer is kind of like a bit more, it's not cheaper by the way, but the processing speed is kind of like a much more faster, like a so much faster. Because of this thing, it kind of like a yeah, it's kind of like a really good thing. But right now I'm kind of like talking about this particular scenario, it doesn't really make sense at all, because I'm not really sure the technicality regarding about that. I was actually thinking that the quantum computer I would gonna use, but I don't know what is exactly technicality. Another thing is that the process actually happen in the space is not actually happen in the surface of Earth. Why? Because it's a kind of like a the lot of computing power really required a kind of like a specific amount of kind of like a something the condition, like a kind of like a specific weather. Like a quantum computer works on kind of like absolute zero temperature, minus 273 degrees Celsius. Obviously this temperature I would not gonna achieve on the surface. I could able to be achieve this particular temperature on surface, but it really requires so much amount of energy for me to kind of like maintain that temperature. But space is a kind of like a really handy, because in the space I could able to be kind of like achieve that much temperature for longer period of time. So basically I was actually thinking that I have to be whatever the kind of like a computing power really required for Adam should supposed to be execute in the space, in the orbit, like a data center in the space, not in a kind of like a data center in the surface, because obviously it's not really possible, convenient, economical. It's not really for me, nothing really at all. Okay, yeah. So if I kind of like build my data center into the space, I would not gonna save the money, but I also kind of like increase the computational power. Okay, so this is a kind of like only one thing. Another thing is that instead of kind of like some people will kind of like utilize a kind of like a something website and kind of like open my website and kind of like try to do this thing. Like this is a kind of like a way, but also the most of the money that I will gonna earn by API. Now what's the API? API is a kind of like only a gateway. Okay, yeah. What exactly happened? Most of the kind of like a business in the future will kind of like a something. Okay, let me kind of like a tell you what exactly is this thing. Usually AI is not a kind of like a somebody people who kind of like a went into the homepage and kind of like a search for something. No, nothing like at all. Most of the kind of like a sorry platform are utilize AI to kind of like a run their kind of like a system. Example, YouTube is also kind of like a using Gemini. Okay, yeah. Now, like, basically, is this thing you don't really see a kind of like a some Gemini in kind of like a YouTube, but actually, yes, like a actually YouTube is a kind of like a some understand the recommendation and things and that and that. Whatever the kind of like a some AI power really required, YouTube kind of like use that thing. And how does it use? It kind of like a use by Gemini integration through API. API is a kind of like a some gateway where kind of like a some data process actually happen automatically inside the system, and from that system kind of like actually provide you better feedback or better value to the user, to the people, to the community, to the kind of like actually platform for kind of like making sure the platform is kind of like a much more better. Okay, yeah. That is what kind of like a simply API. Example, right now I'm kind of like using a kind of like a simply Android Studio. Android Studio is a kind of like a platform where kind of like I build application. Now in this particular application, the Gemini is actually integrated a lot. Okay, automatically, like basically by default. And because of I have a kind of like a simply AI Pro plan, so that's why I am kind of like accessing kind of like a simply AI all the feature inside the kind of like a simply the studio. Even if I wanted to change anything at all, I just kind of like put the prompt and it kind of like change everything at all. I don't have to kind of like go to the Gemini and kind of like do all those things. No, nothing really at all. Inside the kind of like assembly the Android Studio inbuilt, there is a kind of like a API integration, Gemini API integration, and from that thing I just kind of like do execute my task and it will kind of like execute on my behalf. Okay, yeah. So this is what it is. I wanted to kind of like build a API. API is a kind of like a things that it would kind of like integrate inside the system, so that kind of like a whatever the kind of like a social media feed or whatever the kind of like a whatever the kind of like a process actually happened, the backend actually happened in the Atom, and Atom will kind of like provide you kind of like a better prediction model regarding about whatever the kind of like a process will gonna happen and things and that and that. And in that situation, that platform is also kind of like a grow. With respect to platform, I also kind of like a grow because backend structure it kind of like a utilized by me. It's kind of like that na कि my platform is not a kind of like a social media platform where everyone person use, but my platform is such a platform is a kind of like that कि everyone should supposed to be used, either they will kind of like destroy. Example, let's just say kind of like a simply Amazon web server. Okay, yeah. Now basically is this thing most of people don't really kind of like a know what is exactly the Amazon web server. Like most of people understand the Amazon, but Amazon is also kind of like a simply providing the web services. What is actually web services? A web services is that ki kind of like a in the Netflix, like basically you are kind of like seeing the video on your mobile phone is not because of Netflix, is because of the Amazon web services. Because of the Amazon web services, it kind of like a host lot of server and things and that and that. In that situation, most of the kind of like people are kind of like streaming videos and things and that and that. So basically is this thing, you are kind of like providing value to the Netflix, but Netflix is actually depend on Amazon web services. And most of people don't really know what is actually Amazon web services, and my platform is exactly like that. My platform is kind of like a providing backend structure to kind of like make sure that other platform kind of like a much more grow and things and that and that. Okay, yeah. So it's not really that he kind of like assembly how many user will kind of like went into my platform and utilize. No, it's not. It's kind of like that I'm kind of like creating a backend structure so that other platform is a kind of like assembly grow, and in return I also grow with that too, because it's a kind of like it's imagine as a kind of like a skeleton. Not have a skeleton, obviously we will kind of like lay down and kind of like a nothing really at all. Having a proper structure, that means we could kind of like stand, walk, run and things and that and that. Atom is a kind of like providing that kind of like backend structure. Okay, and that is what it is. All right, right now I'm kind of like really tired. This kind of like so much rain. I am kind of like holding umbrella, my hand gets numb and things and that and that. Okay, yeah, and I have to be in here. All right, so this is it, and thank you.